This time on One Foot Flipper, I spend a lot of money. Stay tuned.
One foot flipper.
Hi, Paige here, the One Foot Flipper. Thought I might start out just giving you an update on current situation, what's going on in my life. I know a lot of you are bored of this part, so skip forward several minutes. I'll put the timestamp down. I'll put the timestamp right there where you should skip forward if you don't care about me. Here's what's going on. YouTube is going great. It's really everything's at an all-time high with YouTube. I am not quite gaining subs at the rate that I want to, but my average video views are up quite a bit. And there's an unfortunate side effect of having a huge viral video at any time. It's going to get you a ton of subscribers who never watch you again, and they'll eventually unsubscribe. I'm pretty sure I'm still fighting against that, because what happens is every time I release a new video, I will start losing subscribers for about 4 to 6 hours. Probably as people who never watched me get reminded I exist because I pop up in their feed, or maybe they even get a notification, and those people who never watched me unsub. And then later on in the day, my subscriber count will start raising back up again. So I think that's what's going on there. Hopefully eventually I will burn through all the people who subscribed from my second video and aren't watching now. So current situation here with me though. My sales are basically at an all-time low due to last year being the year of the death pile, and that I've had horrible prosthetic leg issues. Basically at this point I can only walk about 50 feet, and those 50 feet I can walk are terribly painful. And this combined with what seems like a solid month now of Christmas break, snow days, losing mostly whole days to repairman and medical appointments mean that I've listed very little in the last month. I don't get a lot of work done when my daughter's off school. At least during the summertime, I'm used to her being off school, and I guess honestly I don't pay as much attention to her as I should, or probably more than she wants though, since she's a tween now. But just when it's a random school day or a weekend and she's home, I don't tend to get much work done. And we've had about a solid month of that. And then, since the year started, home repairs, auto repairs, and the fact I'm about to pay for a new prosthetic leg has wiped out, or it's going to wipe out, almost my entire savings over the next few months. So, not exactly the greatest. I was actually feeling a bit down about the whole situation this morning at first, but then I checked to YouTube and I found this comment. I'll put it up on the screen here. Paige, you will crush it this quarter. Why? Because you have no other choice. You can do it, man. And after I finished crying a little more than I am right now, I realized that they were right. In the early months after my amputation, I had no prosthetic leg. I had an open wound on my rear end that hurt terribly and needed new bandages daily. I felt sick constantly because my organs hadn't been recovered from me going septic. I still couldn't lift my arms over my head because hospital employees had damaged both of my shoulders, moving me around while I was in my coma back when they still thought I had a very low chance of living. They just thought I was going to die, so they didn't care. Didn't take the best care in moving me. But you know what? I had no choice. I knew my wife's income wasn't enough to pay all the bills and the mortgage. So I started selling cards because that was the only thing I could get a hold of and pick up and do for myself inside a single room. I would list hundreds of them per day because I had no other choice except to succeed. I had 18 years left on my mortgage at that point. And 18 months later, I paid that house off. My current situation is nothing like the hole I was digging myself out of before. I can and will succeed this year because I don't really have any choice other than to succeed. And to be honest, I am so much more capable now than when I started out. Sure, I don't have a seemingly endless magic card collection to list now, but I do have $42,000 worth of listings in my main store already listed. And my card store clears about $300 a month after expenses and takes almost no time because it's full and it's got thousands more in drafts. And it just, every time I sell something, I drop a few drafts in every few days to make up for the sales. And about once every 90 days, I have to do what's called a draft rotation, where I basically rotate what is a draft and what isn't a draft. That's for another video. But anyway, that makes about $300 a month in, honestly, 2 hours of labor a month. And YouTube also makes me $300 a month on far, far, far more than 2 hours of labor. But you know what? You take the card store, YouTube, and in fact, I don't have a mortgage anymore. I'm already $1,300 a month ahead of where I was when I started out on this full-time eBay journey. So if anything, I'm starting this year already halfway up the mountain instead of down in the pits like I thought I was. So just because you might be down, remember, you're probably in a way better spot today than when you first started on that eBay store and you had nothing. You have inventory now. Your skills are better than they were before. You're faster than you were before listing. You have more knowledge than you had before. You can succeed. You just need to put in the time, get better, and do it. All right, let's go to the next part. Usually I'm pretty down on video games as a category, but there are some good things about them, and throughout this video I'm going to look at some of those things. The first is that you can have a very large amount of inventory and a large amount of volume in a very small space. You don't need an entire warehouse. You could probably run a decent-sized video game store on maybe 2 shelves the size of the one I was just pointing the camera at there. You don't need the sort of space I need for my shop at all. You could probably do just as much business on those shelves right there, which that alone could make it a great choice for some sellers with very limited space. Maybe those sellers who still live with their parents or live places where real estate is very expensive. You can get it all into a very small space. All right, got a few more sales here. I got a 2005 King Kong movie poster. Got that in the ADH Dave movie poster lot buy. I've made tons of money off that. Tons of money still left in the lot too, so thanks, Dave. Sold a brand new purse. This is about as off-topic for me as you can get. It's called Cruise Club, sold for $10.80. Not sure how I got it. I'll pop it up on screen because it's already sort of in a box. This isn't how I'm going to send it, but this is just how I had it stored so it wouldn't get damaged in storage. It is a NASCAR Ken Schrader number 36 M&M car, yellow, $9.03. And I sold 2 Warhammer Fantasy Skaven, that's Ratmen Plague Monks, for $14.10. Whenever possible, I like to group those little miniatures up into lots of 2 or 3 because customers, for some reason, don't understand or know about combined shipping. So you've got to find, I try to find that perfect sweet spot in the lot where I'm making it worth them paying shipping, but where I'm not putting so many in that I'm devaluing the lot. You know, a lot of these 2 up and got $7 each, but if I put 200 Ratmen in a lot, I'd probably only get $2 or $3 per Ratman instead of $7. So finding the right size of a lot is really a kind of an art, or maybe it's a science. I bet it's actually a science. Somebody could probably study it and figure it out. So I want one of you people who went to college, you go figure that out for me. The next reason why video games are a great category on eBay is that the inventory is widely available. Doesn't really matter where you live, you can find video games. You can find enough to specialize in it. Even if you're not finding them at garage sales, you can simply put ads on Facebook Marketplace that you're buying video games. Put out, just set the word out that you're buying video games, and you could probably get enough inventory to just keep selling nothing but video games. It's very easy to find a lot of inventory when something is that common. It's not like those Warhammer figures and D&D books that I like to sell that are much harder to find. So this is a different day. Terrible sales today. 3 things, one of which was actually last night. Sold a Pinocchio poster for the VHS release, $8.72. Sold a Christmas ornament, $6.64. And I sold a late 19th century Alice in Wonderland for $50. Got that at the Goodwill bins. Also, my store is getting pretty rotten. I need to get better items because mostly what I got here is the leftovers. My newer items are selling much faster than the ones that have already been in the store. And You never want to sleep on inventory. Went to the Goodwill bins last week, picked up a few things. I remember picked up a book called Red Magic. It was at $20 when I picked it up at the bins. And the book had fallen $6 in price by the time I got around to listing it a week later. Because of automated pricing robots that the biggest booksellers use. You know, they undercut each other until they get down to a certain level, or one of them gives up. Yep, lost 25% of the value in 1 week. Oh, one tip. I always box antique books, even if they're in poor condition. I do. I'm not going to stick a 140-year-old book into a, 130-year-old book into a bubble mailer. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up in some bubble wrap and put it in the box, even though it's not that nice. Now, my next reason why video games are a great category on eBay is that games that are priced correctly can sell the very same day they're listed. Especially if it's a game that sells every day. If you price yours right, you can sell that game that same day. I mean, if your copy of Wii Sports has been sitting around for more than a week, you priced it wrong. If you price it right, it'll sell in an hour. And that means you need even less space for your inventory. You can turn that space over even faster than you could before, and means you need even less space to do the same amount of business. Okay, looks like I got a couple of viewer packages here. No, nobody sent me anything for free. The sad truth of that situation as far as viewer mail and packages and super chats and channel memberships is that the people with the least financial need of them get the vast majority of that sort of freebies from their fans. Hey, I'm not mad at them because maybe that'll happen to me someday. Both of these are bulk lots of miniatures that I bought from viewers who had located them, didn't want to deal with it, and were happy just making a few bucks on the deal and passing it really on to me since I'm an expert in them. This first one came from Steve. Do I have the camera where it can see the box? Yeah. This is a box full of modern Warhammer figures, mostly focusing on the Necron class of creatures. The Necrons are like robot zombies or something like that. It's a whole big box of them. Most of them are already wrapped up pretty nicely, so I can't really show them all to you. This other one I haven't opened yet. This one is from viewer Andrew. I'm gonna have to blur the address on that. Maybe. And viewer Andrew has sent me a box of what's supposed to be War Machine miniatures. War Machine not as popular as Warhammer, which means I also paid Andrew less than I paid Steve here. Very nice packing. Okay, looks like we got some big fantasy looking robot there. More big dudes. Apparently none of this stuff is painted. The other collection's very painted. Oh, damaged pieces. He asked me if I wanted the damaged ones even if we raised the shipping, and I said yes, I'll take the damaged ones. Bunch of metal guys. All this is unpainted. Unpainted is usually a bonus. Painted miniatures usually detracts from the value unless the paint job is incredibly good, in which case it can add to the value, because there are people who love these games, but they are horrible at painting, or they don't want to, or they'd rather have somebody better than they are paint their miniatures for them. So that's the market for the painted figures. These have a very basic, pretty amateurish job. Basically, it looks like they just spray bombed this black and hit a few details on it, just enough to be legal for tournament play. Apparently, for tournament play, you have to have at least 3 colors on each one of your miniatures. Another good thing about video games as a category on eBay is that the prices on the cartridge-based systems are very stable and have been rising over time for years. So if you get that inventory and you don't necessarily, you can push that to the back of the stack and not worry that if you don't get it listed right away that it's gonna go in value to 0. Now, a lot of disc games have been falling in value for years, but those cartridge stuff has remained stable, and in the future is likely to rise heavily because those are going to be the only accessible systems that you can actually find functioning systems for. So your inventory could actually raise in value while it isn't listed. So that death pile could be a death investment. Another reason why video games are a great category is that listing and shipping are very easy. I will list most video games right from my PC, photographing with this IPEVO document camera, taking the photographs as I list. And you can ship most of them in a poly bag. Couldn't be any easier than that. All right, let's do a few sales here. Sold a wooden dot stamp, $2.95. Yeah, so glad I'm almost out of stamps. Got a viewer sale, pretty rare these days. Viewer Amanda bought a glowworm and both death pile monsters, the classic and the Q4. The Q4s are almost completely out. I only have 3 left. I will never be able to get another one again. Every source I went to that possibly had these is gone. All right, sold some Tupperware bowls, $3.99. Yeah, it's a big money day. Big money day. Tupperware spoon rest and or soap dish, $4.80. I sold 1, 2, 3 Warhammer Skaven Ratmen, $18. I actually turned offers back on, and I did sell that to an offer. And I cannot find a lot of 2 point and shoot cameras from the 90s for $9.98. They are in a SKU location that no longer exists. So I'm just gonna have to look for them tomorrow. Next thing about selling video games on eBay is that you can build an incredible collection over time easily out of the extras, the loose discs, the not quite ready for prime time stuff. You just keep all the stuff that's not really worth selling. Eventually you're going to have an incredible collection. And unlike a lot of other areas, a lot of the best stuff is actually worthless. A lot of the best games aren't really worth anything because they sold so well that there's just more copies out there than there are people who care to own them anymore. It's most of the actually really valuable video games, especially the more modern ones, are stuff you've never heard of and probably wouldn't care to play if you did. So yeah, you could end up with an entire wall of games, hundreds of games for every system with no real money invested because it was all stuff not worth selling. Video games on eBay also give you an opportunity to specialize in selling something that you love. I know a lot of people who want to have a specialty want to sell that thing they love, and that is one of the things that you could love that you could actually specialize in on eBay and make money. If you love Beanie Babies, it might be a little bit harder, but video games, definitely possible. And the final reason the video games are a great category on eBay is that your store is never going to lack traffic. Your customers who buy your video games are probably going to browse through your store if you've got nothing but video games, and that can just lead to more sales. Hey, I guess that's all I got for today. Thanks for coming on it, everybody. If you know anybody else who sells Tupperware, why don't you tell them about this channel? Could use the subs. Hope to see you again soon.